William Stafford's poem 15 was published in 1966. The poem is divided into 4 stanzas of 5 lines each and the final line. The poem contains its own felt rhythms with the accents varied within each line. Let's see the summary of the poem. South of the bridge on 17th, I found back of the willows one summer day a motorcycle with engine running as it lay on its side, ticking over slowly in the high grass. I was 15. The opening 2 lines place the event of the poem in a kind of secret natural setting. We are given a visual image of a place that is, if not deep in seclusion, at least on the edge of town, out of sight of anyone traveling the road, back of the willows. This could refer to pussy willows, but probably refers to willow trees, which are free flowing in their long branches and offer a wild kind of camouflage. The bridge may be seen as a symbol of division between the town with its man made structures and morals and nature with its mysteries. Perhaps Stafford establishes the word 17th in line 1 to emphasize the youthfulness of the persona's age of 15. Perhaps it allows us to feel by the end of the poem the emotional and maturity level difference between being 15 and being 17, as well as between boyhood and manhood. This may cause the reader to feel the exquisite youthful reaction to the event as experienced by a 15-year-old. Lines 3 to 5 give us a precise picture of what the youth discovers in his exploration into nature. A motorcycle in the grass. Stafford's language here is simple on the surface, but renders a solid underlying treasure for the reader because in the image of the motorcycle in the grass, at once a smashing juxtaposition of the man-made artificial machine against the natural high grasses in the spot secluded by nature's willows. This is a contrast of the Greek gods Apollo and Dionysius, the fiery sun versus the moon, and the muddy earth versus the woods. The natural and man made are intricately interwoven by Stafford in the engines ticking like a human heart. The phrase I was 15 in line 5 at this point in the poem appears to be no more than a bit of narrative fact. It does, however, begin a pedestal on which Stafford builds an ever increasing emotional reaction in the reader as the poem progresses. The second stanza. I admired all that pulsing gleam, the shiny flanks, the demure headlights, fringed where it lay. I led it gently to the road and stood with that companion, ready and friendly. I was 15. Here, Stafford causes the reader to feel the persona's immediate emotional intensity and psychological connection to the cycle by using personification. That is, he gives the cycle human female characteristics so that the boy relates to the piece of downed machinery in an emotion so intense it is nearly sexual. He is drawn to its pulsing gleam, which lets us feel the machine is alive. It has flanks and demure headlights, girl's eyes, it has fringes, perhaps like those on a dancer's costume. And the boy is seduced by it so that he lifts it up and leads it gently out to the road, calling it his companion. Here, the repeated phrase, I was 15, serves to increase the reader's sense of fear that the youthful adventurer might be over his head in his exploration and his possible decision to take off on the bike. It produces a tension in the poem. The third stanza. We could find the end of a road meet the sky on out 17th. I thought about hills and handle got back a confident opinion. On the bridge we indulged a forward feeling, a tremble. I was 15. In this stanza, Stafford seems to allow time to stand still momentarily, while his young persona lets his imagination create a kind of wispy thread between the real and unreal. The limitation of his youth and the lifetime that lies ahead of him, between the physical spot he just left and the adventuresome open road ahead. In line 12, Staffford repeats the word 17th, which has the effect of reinforcing the time left ahead of the youth, the urge to tear forward into it with his companion, the confident cycle. In lines 14 and 15, there is an indulging on the bridge, a forward feeling, a tremble. Here, the bridge seems to act as a symbol not only of a division between town and country, but also of a division between the real and the imagined, restrictions and freedom, structure and breaking free, the rational mind versus the irrational emotion. Use of the phrase "I was 15" here brings home to the reader the knowledge that the indulging of that moment of imaginative flight into adventure of the bridge, the forward feeling, accompanied by a tremble, renders the persona a changed person. He can never be quite the same again. His imagination has been sent beyond the frame that was his thought and feeling prior to the indulgence. The last stanza. Thinking back further in the grass, I found the owner just coming to where he had flipped over the rail. He had blood on his hand, was pale. I helped him walk to his machine. He ran his hand over it, called me good man, rode away. The word thinking mention of the previous stanza, which is busting with the youthful persona's impulse to act on his imaginative irrational impulses. The rational mind takes over and the youth finds the rider. He had flipped over the rail, which is perhaps a message from Staffford that life holds sudden, unexpected changes and life altering obstacles. The phrase also acts to make the reader feel that the persona had nearly flipped over the rail into being seduced away on the bike. Again, in this stanza, the natural versus the man made. We are given the image of soft skin injured by mechanical device, blood loss caused by the accident. Now, the pale rider becomes the persona's momentary companion, as the bike had been. The youth leads him to the bike, where the rider reconnects to the man made machine, running his hand over it as he would a woman. When he speaks to the persona, he calls him a good man before he rows away. The youth knows unquestionably that he is closer to manhood than he was before the event occurred, and also that he has had a seductive experience of what the adventure to manhood would be like. The last line, I stood there, 15. The final line solidifies the ideas and tensions of the entire poem. It makes us feel the impact of the roaring away of the cycle rider through use of the word stood. It is as though the boy has become fastened to the ground, unable to move, paralyzed by his own youth, while the cycle, as the symbol of high adventure, roars away from him. We are aware that the persona, who is now an adult, looking back on this experience, is still affected by his memory, and that the experience might still act to motivate the persona to find new roads in the world and in his imagination. Though this poem does not give us any background information about the 15-year-old boy, we can safely guess from his excitement about finding the motorcycle that he had found his life lacking. Another boy might have imagined showing his discovery off to his friends in order to increase his social standing, or selling it in order to increase his financial standing. But this boy dreams of escaping, leaving his current situation behind, stances with the unknown. At the beginning of the third stanza, the boy's vague plan is stated as, "We could find the end of a road," indicating a desolate place where no one else would be interested in going to or coming from. And it continues with, "Meet the sky on out 17." The exaggeration of meeting the sky indicates how far the boy is willing to go to escape his current situation, while the mention of a local street, and not a very high numbered one at that, shows the boy to be weak in imagination and unable to fantasize about a truly exotic locale. While this boy dreams of getting away, he also responds to objects as holding the potential for friendship, indicating that this is something that is missing from his life. He refers to the motorcycle as a companion, ready and friendly. He communicates with it, receiving its opinion in exchange for a friendly pat. And just on the verge of taking off, the speaker uses we to describe anticipation as belonging to both boy and machine. For the boy to project such human feelings onto the motorcycle indicates a lack of personal involvement in his life. By contrast, there is no section with the motorcycle's owner. Even though the boy provides assistance to the owner, there is physical contact as the 15-year-old helps the owner walk. But in calling the boy a good man, the owner tosses off the sort of impersonal compliment that a young man can expect will please. It shows courtesy while retaining the emotional distance that alienates the boy. This poem is a rare poem in which machinery is shown in a more positive light than the natural setting around it. Possibly because the point of view is that of a 15-year-old boy with a narrow range of experiences. He is familiar with nature but new to the wonders of technology. The location of the action, south of the bridge, implying a river or stream in back of the willows, is an area that is not entirely urbanized. This is where wild growth still occurs, and the fact that one road rides off to meet the sky clearly indicates a rural town or at best a fringe suburb. The fact that the speaker of the poem was in the high grass on a summer day is conveyed without comment as if it was nothing special but a common occurrence. The language used to describe it makes it attractive not only for its power but also for the beauty the young man sees in it. The gleam and shine make it sound almost otherworldly, while the words demure and fringed indicate that the speaker sees an almost feminine beauty in it. The bond that the boy shares with this machine becomes tighter until it reaches an almost sexual level near the end of stanza 3. We indulged a forward feeling, a tremble. There are indications that this infatuation is a product of the character's youth and that the mature voice telling the story does not entirely approve of the way he used to feel. The strongest evidence of this is in the constant repetition of the phrase, I was 15, as if the speaker feels so differently now that he has to remind himself of why he felt as he did then. Another boy seems to hope for is the pale, bloody condition in which the motorcycle rider is found. This poem glamorized the motorcycle in a way that is common for a 15-year-old. And the owner shows some of that boyish infatuation in the way he runs his hand over it, but the blood and danger present keep the reader from idolizing the machine the way these characters do. 15 is an age at which people in American society are bound to feel frustrated, having grown into close approximations of adult bodies and being within sight of legal independence, while at the same time being unable to reach out and grasp control of their lives. This poem stresses that particular age as being just short of the ability to do what one wants. The boy in the poem appreciates the freedom and power that riding the motorcycle actual experience is indulging in a forward feeling, a tremble. We know from the vagueness of his plan that he is simply not mature enough yet to ride off by himself, but in the poem it is the sudden appearance of the motorcycle's owner that stops him. What is not examined thoroughly though is the fact that the boy stopped his own departure in order to go to the man who had been thrown into the grass. The poem leaves it up to the reader to follow the thought process that convinces him to abandon his plans. He may have been concerned about the missing rider and gone to look for him, or he may have given up on the idea of riding and returned to the grass before even realizing that the rider was there. If there is any question about when this young man will be ready to exercise his independence, Stafford gives us a clue. The road could have been named anything, but he chose to association of 17th with the bridge, and the distant horizon indicates that the 15-year-old has only a short time to go before he can